everyone. We want to give it a few seconds to kind of let people allow to join this live and just come on board and see exactly what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, we just want to kind of share our thoughts on the school board meeting, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, so
we'll just go ahead and start. People can catch up and go back and rewatch or whatever.
Yeah. So the first point we want to make is we are not against the teachers. We are actually advocating for our teachers. I know we've had some pushback from teachers, but they didn't realize, I think, that we are actually advocating for the teachers. We are not trying to cause a further teacher shortage or anything like that. We are actually advocating for those in this system that cannot speak. So, also, we are advocating for the children and the parents. We want parents to be involved in this. We want you to know that being involved means that you have a voice in this fight. All of you guys, not only parents, but grandparents, guardians, all stakeholders, right? All the people, taxpayers, community members.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has a leg in this fight, all right? Because it's our community. It's both Shannon and Hal. Mm-hmm. So it's not just Shannon. We need to stand together in this, and we need parents to come on board. Also, in doing that, your children will see you and say, hey, they're going to look to you as a role model, so they will want to one day speak out and not just be pushed under. So
advocate for their children.
Yeah, they'll be able to advocate. Okay.
Rebuke you, Satan.
They will be able to advocate in the future because you stood up.
You stood up for what's right.
Yep.
And you became the change that needs to happen.
We know that a lot of people are worried about retaliation, and because this is a small community, we know that they're worried about pushback. But that is, that's something that...
If you're standing alone, sure, that's a concern. But if you're standing with a group of people that can help advocate for you and support you like you deserve to be supported, everybody should have a voice.
Yes, everyone should.
Everybody shouldn't feel bullied or intimidated. According to the board last night, they want us to speak to them. So this is what we're trying to do.
Supposedly.
So we are going to be talking about our speeches. We are going to go over all of our speeches today because we were limited in time. I didn't get to say some of my speech.
I didn't get to say some of mine.
I got kicked out.
The only speech that we don't have is Miss Irma's.
I have it, some of it, and I'm going to go over some of her points.
Okay, and we're going to give you our thoughts about how the meeting went, and we're going to go over some important topics that we have been fighting for and fighting to get. But first, we need to talk about, we're going to make a GoFundMe.
Yes.
That's one of the important topics that we are trying to get across because we are trying to raise money for the consolidation paperwork.
Yes.
They are currently holding it hostage without receiving payment first.
Yes. We have been trying to get this consolidation paperwork for about 3 months now.
So the consolidation paperwork is the original consolidation of Mountain View and Birch Tree school districts into one district, right? So they were separate districts and then they joined to one district. And those consolidations are important because it will show us how the school board is set up. That's a main concern of ours.
And how our administration was to be set up.
Yes.
And that was one of the main things. Now, when we first tried to get it, Lana gave us yearbook pictures,
which was
from
just
her dad's yearbook,
which was just a summary. It didn't go into detail about anything.
Yeah. Right. And then the second time we tried to get it, because we told her that wasn't legal documentation, then she gave us a brief summary of minutes that basically told us where and who was on the board and where the location of the high school was going to be set up. Mm-hmm. Why do you have to pay for that? Shouldn't that be public? Yes.
Yes.
It should be public knowledge. That's a great question, Tiffany. But right now, they're holding it hostage until we pay for this. They're saying that they haven't updated their records, and because of the age of the document, they are going to have to scan and copy each page, and
which is 300 pages,
to update it digitally. So, because we had put in our sunshine law that we wanted it digitally if it was going to cost anything. But because they haven't updated their records, we are having to pay for them to update their records, basically.
For us to fit the bill. When
we don't mind paying for the copies, right? Because we know that comes out of the school's pocket, and we don't mind paying for the copies. But we definitely shouldn't have to pay for them to update their records, right?
But I'm going to tell you that after that second time, she told us that she could no longer help us, that we needed to go to her records department, which is Marsha Webb, I do believe.
And also it's important to note that up until we presented the Sunshine Law, she couldn't find any paperwork, right? Oh, well, this is all the paperwork I can find, even though she had said that she had went over the minutes and read it herself. And the yearbook was a great synopsis of the minutes that she read, but she didn't give us those minutes.
Yeah.
And so, up until that point, she couldn't find what we were looking for. We had to go to the measure of giving the Sunshine Law, and then all of a sudden, she found 300 copies of the consolidation paperwork.
Yeah.
Mind you, at this point, we have already tried to contact the Department of Education, DESE, state reps,
the Attorney General.
We have talked to a lot of people trying to get this consolidation paperwork, trying to get something sorted out. We have talked to DESE several times trying to get it, which you can hardly get a hold of, by the way. We finally did get a hold of someone, and they said there should be paperwork on consolidation everywhere in this. But then he sent us to their records department, and they never answered, and they never called us back. So that's when we got the state representatives involved. We talked to Keith Ellett and Lisa Darnell about this, and they are trying now to go through the liaison through DESE to get the consolidation paperwork.
But at this point, it might just be easier to pay the $350
or
whatever it is.
It's $350 altogether.
Yeah.
That would make 3,000.
Well, they're saying it's 300 copies, so that's $30 for the copies, and then the rest of that money would be for the hourly wages it's going to cost us. So that they get the records and scan them in, right?
And they're charging $20 an hour for that.
So, I mean, that's where we're at, right? So we just want to talk briefly about that. We're going to do another live that at some point and talk about the consolidation paperwork more in depth. We're going to talk about... so anyways, we're going to do another live that's going to go in depth about what it means when our communities have to consolidate our elementary and why that's so detrimental, because we know, because we've done the research, right, of what happens to small towns when they consolidate. So, so we're going to do a GoFundMe for that paperwork, and we will put that link in the on Rochelle's page, on my page, on Bobby's page, and we will also put it in the comment section of this video.
Yes.
So.
And it's just for the money for the paperwork.
Yep. We only want to raise the amount of money for the paperwork. Anything else we get, I mean, it's just,
Probably gonna
We'll
give it-
donate it.
we'll donate it somewhere else. We just need that money for the paperwork.
Yeah.
We're going to put in our own money, but we need help. You know, $322 is not a small
Actually, I
small
think
fee.
what we will do is donate it to the community center here that Brandon is trying to set up.
Yep, that's a good place for it to go.
Yes.
So anyways, okay, so now we're just going to kind of go over the school board meeting and go over our speeches, right, of what we said. Because of there were numerous people that had commented they couldn't hear what some of us were speaking. So we want to read our speeches so that you can hear our opinions. Yeah.
And our
And our
topics.
concerns.
Yeah. So Bobby's going to go ahead and read his, and his is over
The KK policy.
The KK
Yes.
policy where they allow a sexual predator on the school grounds, as long as they are escorted by the principal, but the principal is also married to a sexual predator.
1 second. I also want to say the reason why we're going over these is also because we got the agenda, and the agenda was not clear. It was not made clear to us that we were actually on the agenda. It showed that one of us was left out of the agenda is how we took that, because of course Lana didn't update us or tell us anything about what she was doing. So that is why we had Bobby stand up first. We were thinking that he was cut out of the agenda altogether.
because of the way it was worded.
Yeah, because
And there's only 3 spots.
he said that he wanted to speak on policy, and she put it under children's behaviors or something like that. We'll share that agenda item, that agenda paper, that way you guys know.
Yeah, we'll put that in the comments as well. So go ahead and
This is how my speech goes. It's, good evening. I stand before you tonight not just as a concerned parent or community member, but as a voice for the children who cannot advocate for themselves, and for the parents who trust that when they send their kids to school, they are sending them to a place that puts safety above all else. That trust has been shaken. I am deeply troubled by a policy KK, and a decision that feels less like oversight and more like a betrayal. A betrayal of our children's safety, our community's values, and the basic standards we expect from those in positions of authority. Why is there a policy in place that allows a registered sex offender to be present on campus simply because they are escorted and approved by the principal? And more importantly, why is this acceptable when the very principal who can grant that permission is married to a registered sex offender? Let's call this what it is, a glaring conflict of interest so severe it puts our children at risk. This isn't new information. This man's history was known, his offenses were known, and the relationship between him and the now principal was known long before her promotion from vice principal. So I ask you, why was she elevated to a role of greater authority, especially over the very age group where her husband was convicted of targeting? And there's another question. Why were photos of this man at school functions deleted from social media once questions started being asked? Does that not seem suspicious? Does that not suggest there was an awareness that what was happening wasn't right? If those pictures were taken before the conviction, then why remove them at all, unless there was something to hide? Actions like these only deepen the mistrust parents are already feeling. What message does this send to our students, to parents, to survivors? It tells them that silence is safer than speaking, that policies matter more than people, that personal connections can trump conscience, and that somehow in this system a predator can still find access as long as the paperwork is in order. Before anyone tells me that as a Christian I should forgive and forget, let me remind you, forgiveness does not mean enabling. It does not mean turning a blind eye. My Savior came in flipping tables and standing up for what was right. I will do the same if I must, and I will stand alone if I have to protect our children. Because the Bible is crystal clear on what should happen to anyone who causes a child to stumble. It would be better for them to have a millstone tied around their neck and thrown into the sea. We're not asking for vengeance, we're asking for wisdom, for discernment, For leadership that puts children first, not politics, not personal relationships, not loopholes in policy. So I ask you plainly, why does a policy like this exist in the first place? Why was someone who was married to a known sex offender placed in a higher position of direct influence over children? Why were photos of this individual on campus scrubbed from public view? How can we trust someone who is married to a sex offender, takes pictures of our children at school events, and views their social media pages? And now that the public is aware, what are you prepared to do about it? How can we trust a principal who chooses not to communicate with parents about issues involving their children? Instead, she pulls children aside privately to discuss matters that should only be addressed with a parent present. That is not leadership, that is intimidation. That is bullying, and when parents try to discuss these concerns, she hangs up on them mid-conversation. What kind of message does that send? She doesn't coordinate with the front office or keep them informed about important matters. I've experienced this firsthand. She hung up on me while I was talking. She did that twice, actually. If she cannot handle the responsibilities and pressures that come with being a principal, then I ask again, why is she in this position? We deserve answers, our children deserve protection, and it is this board's responsibility to prioritize their safety, to hold their value as human beings above policy, friendships, and politics. You as our leaders have a moral obligation to act, not next month, not after another meeting, but now. Because every day this policy stands is another day we fail the very ones who rely on us most, our children. Thank you.
I'm going to see if you can make it public. 1 second. We're going to see if we can make this public. I don't think we did. So maybe.
Yeah, you're just going to have to do it after, probably.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll do it after. We'll make it public after we're done. We can invite people. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties.
Yep. Hi. I think we got her.
Okay. We'll make it public afterwards if people can watch. And if there's any questions or comments, I want to let you know that we will answer them as soon as we get them. So, now I think you're gonna.
Yeah. So I guess we're gonna comment on Bobby's concerns, right?
Yes.
On the registered sex offender. So we know that our middle school principal, right, Tammy Heine, her husband is a registered sex offender. We have had numerous reports. We've had parents message us, parents talk to us face to face.
Children talk to us.
Children talk to us that they have in fact seen him on school grounds.
Well, some have said they've seen him in the front office at the middle school. Some have said that they've seen him at basketball games and stuff like that, and public things for the school. So, I mean, those were where our concerns were founded, right? We want to make sure that everyone knows that we are aware of that situation. Mm-hmm. And just because they're calling it rumors does not
make it any
justify the actions that we are being told is happening.
Mm-hmm. We don't have a personal vendetta against Mrs. Heine. We have a issue when we are told that there's a registered sex offender coming to the school and are around children. You know, my nieces, my cousins' kids, all girls, go to this school. I mean, that's concerning to us. And so we have a big issue with that.
Also, we do have an issue to her being elevated to a higher position.
Yes.
An authority over our children. She was vice principal. She probably should have stayed vice principal when the convictions came out, right? So, but they went ahead and elevated her to principal over the whole middle school.
Even though they knew and it was public knowledge about his offenses.
Yes. So we do have an issue with that.
We do have an issue with that.
per se towards Tammy Heine. It's just the facts, right? And it's just the moral,
the morality of it.
Yeah, the moral compass of this situation, right? So now,
and that's something every parent should be concerned about.
Nobody wants their
the
kid
guy's
to get
target
targeted.
age was a 13-year-old. That is whom she is set over. And so, like, when we went in and we talked to, or when Bobby went in and he talked to Lana about it, she had brought up Policy KK, which is why he spoke on Policy KK. And she said that when you had asked if he was on school grounds, she had said that she had to have received written notice for any sex offender to be allowed on school grounds. And she, to her knowledge, had never received any written documentation.
To date.
Yes.
So that means he didn't have the right to be there. If she didn't receive written documentation for him to be on school grounds, he doesn't have the right to be there. According to their own
policy
and the things that she spoke. So
we're also specifically covering this because we have had parents come to us and say they were taking their kids out because of Miss Heine is in that position and because of her husband's known sex offender.
Right.
So
the trust is broken.
I want you to know that we know that we have heard that she is in the church now and that he's in the church now and he has been asked and forgiven. But that does not give grounds to excuse. Once you have made this type of offense, actions have consequences.
Yes.
Actions, you know, they are very weighty things. Once you do something like this, it follows you for the rest of your life. And as it should follow you. I'm sorry. And God, that's between her and God. But
it's also a law issue, right?
Yes.
I mean, he's breaking the law if he's within 500 feet of the school. But of course, there is a contingency to that, right? Because she's in a place of authority, Miss Heine, and can allow him to be there. Of course, the superintendent's saying, I've never received written notice for him to be there, but apparently she has the authority to allow him to be there. So, like, there's all kinds of loopholes in this, and we're just saying we don't care. He shouldn't be there. Yeah. Morally, shouldn't be there.
He's around children that he targeted. He should not be around them whatsoever.
And that's something you as parents should be highly concerned about. The moral and ethical values of this board, the morals and ethical values of the people in administration that they're allowing this to happen. And we're not saying this. We're saying we have heard people have seen him. Children have seen him.
My own children have seen him.
So, I mean, it's just, it's wild to us that the concern is not higher than what it is about this. And obviously there is some concern because people are pulling their kids out, but...
Yeah, which should be alarming enough to the board members.
They just keep trying to sweep it under that big old rug, right? That's what they keep trying to do, and they keep thinking that this is going to go away. So they're not addressing it. And it needs to very much be addressed.
Yes. Them locking down Facebook pages, them not talking about this very significant issue just shows us that we can't trust you.
And telling me to sit down and be quiet when I'm reading my speech and kicking me out of the board meeting.
Yeah, I mean, that just, I mean, it breeds mistrust when you don't put out statements. And so, I mean,
all right,
that's where we're at. So
let's move on to yours.
Yep, look, and I'll read mine. My topic on the agenda was supposed to be assistant principal. She worded it a little differently, but we knew that that's what I was speaking on. So this is my speech in its entirety because I cut out a lot of it to stay within that time frame. So this is my speech in its entirety. Okay, so good evening. I come before you tonight, not just as a parent, but as a concerned citizen and taxpayer of this district. The people of Birch Tree feel ignored, marginalized by the very district meant to serve all communities equally. After speaking with the residents of this district and the superintendent, it's clear these growing concerns are not isolated. Are the citizens and students of Birch Tree viewed as second class by this board? Is our community deemed less important simply because we generate less tax revenue than Mountain View? We've heard the explanation that the decision to assign Birch Tree an assistant principal is due to declining test scores in the last 2 years by Lana. But what do test scores have to do with the necessity of proper leadership? If academic performance is the issue, we request access to certified data showing where Birch Tree falls on the state average, and a clear explanation of how test scores justify reducing our administrative support, because it doesn't. Let's be honest, the switch to a 4-day week and recent leadership changes must be considered as contributing factors. If leadership wants to take credit for success, they must also take responsibility for setbacks. Lana Tharp admitted the issue is also communication. But communication is not optional. It's a fundamental part of her job. And if she can't communicate effectively, she's not qualified to lead this district. What is the assistant superintendent's role? We found out that it's transportation. And why is he in the bus barn instead of helping run the district? If the superintendent can't manage communication properly with her administration, why not rely on him instead of creating more unnecessary positions? Adding a head principal to do their jobs makes 0 sense. When the current channels of communication are so broken, parents who call or email are often met with excuses and evasions. This is unacceptable. Communication should be truthful with straightforward answers. When communication fails at the top, it reverberates through every level of this district. The decision to sign an assistant principal to Birch Tree without community input.
Yep.
Over there.
I am. I'm just getting it.
For years, Birch Tree has had a principal. Why now the change? Is this a part of a long-rumored consolidation plan? If this is indeed the direction you're taking us, let me be clear. Birch Tree does not support consolidation. We've seen what happens to small towns when their school, the heart of the town, dies, and we won't let that happen here. We are also deeply frustrated by the selection of an assistant principal unfamiliar with our town, especially when qualified candidates from Birch Tree applied. This follows a pattern. I lost my place. This follows a pattern. We believe Paula, who truly knew and cared for students and our community. There we go.
Okay. Sorry, guys.
Yep. Okay, I'm going to finish the speech that I had started. Okay, so I'm just going to start from where I was.
Follows a pattern here.
Yep. So this follows a pattern. We believe Paula, who truly knew and cared for students in our community, was unfairly pushed out, potentially to make way for a relative of another administrator. If that's true, it speaks to a disturbing level of nepotism in this district. Let me be clear. We do not want an assistant principal. We are tired of feeling like outsiders in our own district. Tired of being ignored, misled, and silenced. Tired of retaliation against teachers and staff for speaking the truth. You have a choice. You can work with parents, teachers, and taxpayers, or continue down a path of exclusion and mistrust. Families are leaving this district. If you're not asking why, you're not listening. So I'll close with this. What are we going to do to fix it? What are you going to do to fix it? Because this is not just our responsibility, it's yours. Each of you is an elected official. The question is, so that's basically the end of my speech. So anyways, I did include 7 families are actually leaving the district that we know about.
Yes.
Which will be in Rochelle's speech as well, and she'll go into more detail about that. But the overall point was,
we do not want an assistant principal.
We don't want an assistant principal in our elementary school.
It just makes 0 sense.
Yes, and Mountain View, we've heard from Mountain View parents. They don't like the idea either. They don't want just an assistant principal over their school either.
Well, the fact of the matter is that every one of our schools have a principal and assistant principal. Every one. Even the middle school that doesn't have very many more than students than the Birch Tree Elementary. But Birch Tree Elementary has always had just one head principal. So every other school had been getting support from an assistant, but ours.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
We do have the less amount of students, but we still have 200 kids.
Yes.
Or about that.
We have 199 kids. That's with preschool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they want to say that it's communication issues, and we just don't believe that. Rena asked Lana point blank, is Paula not communicating? Or is that what you're saying? No, she didn't say anything to that. She absolutely didn't. Because
that was in a meeting with Lana.
They also claimed that the head principal will be over curriculum, that to make sure that all of the teachers will be on the same page on all the schools levels and in curriculum. I just don't get that. So this head principal is just going to be going around making sure everybody's curriculum is the same.
Yes. And then to make sure also that the head principal basically is in charge of communication between between the assistant principals, so that everybody is communicating together. Well, was that not happening before? Like, why wasn't that happening before? I mean, that's a major issue if you can't communicate with your administration. And that's her problem. And I told her that. You're creating a head principal to do your job. That's not okay. And then you've stuck your support, which is the assistant superintendent, you've stuck him into
over transportation
in the bus barn. Like, that's like, what? So that now that you don't have his support, so then you're basically creating a head principal job to do half of your work and to do the supporting role that the assistant superintendent's supposed to do. So, like, a lot of this just doesn't make sense when you think about it. So, I mean, honestly, we're convinced it's a part of the consolidation plan that they're trying to integrate.
Teachers and all right, go ahead, and I don't have your face.
Yep. So that's where we're at on that, and then Rochelle's gonna read her speech, so you can kind of know what she said.
What did we do with it there? Okay. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak today about transparency. I'm here because I deeply care about our schools, our staff, and most importantly, our children. But I'm also here because many in our community are deeply concerned about the direction this district is heading and about the lack of real transparency and communication from leadership. When a letter from a respected retired school teacher brought long-standing concerns into the light, the response wasn't openness, it was damage control. Staff were pulled into a meeting not to clarify or discuss, but to be told clearly and firmly to sit down and shut up, to talk to no one outside of the school district about the school district. That kind of response creates fear, not trust, and it sends a dangerous message that silence is more important than accountability. Let me be clear, this isn't the first time. In 2017, Pamela Adams endured mistreatment that many believe contributed to her untimely passing. When colleagues attempted to speak up, they were told to destroy evidence or face consequences. That's not just a failure of leadership, it's a betrayal of your teacher's trust and your public's trust. And just so we're clear, we have reached out to her family and we know this injustice to be true. This is not how a transparent administration operates. This is how an administration hides its guilt. Now we are told that the rumors of the school consolidation are unfounded. But if that's true, why issue verbal gag orders? Why muzzle your staff and hold meetings behind closed doors? Even your own superintendent has admitted that the consolidation has been in the works for decades. We know that there is a 10-year plan to consolidate our elementaries. We believe that we are on year 3, going into year 4 of that plan. We know that a few of our Birch Tree teachers are being placed in Mountain View, and a few Mountain View teachers will be placed in Birch Tree next year to help teachers become more on board with this consolidation plan. We know the only reason the consolidation discussion is not being broached right now is due to the lack of funding and due to the 10-year plan. The public deserves the truth, not deflection. And so we are crystal clear. We do not want our elementaries consolidated. We are all one of God's creation. Let me be clear. No one sitting on this board is above the people you serve. That includes the teachers you silence, the staff you pressure, and the parents you exclude. We are not here to be managed. We are here to be represented. We're not here to tear anyone down. We're here because we expect better, and we know our community deserves better. If you want to move forward, truly forward, start including parents in the real conversation. We want a seat at the table for the big decision-making discussions that affect both us and our children. In the culture of silence and fear, respect the voices of those who care enough to speak up, because respect goes both ways. You want our respect? Start respecting us when we speak. To genuinely grow, you must cultivate the resilience to accept constructive criticism head on, without letting defensiveness or dismissiveness hold you back. We ask for real change in the way you have set up this administration. We ask for open forum discussions between us and the full administration, and we deserve no less. Something really has to change in the way this administration conducts itself. We know of at least 7 families that will not be back to the school district this year. And the fact that we have heard from the Winona School District that the influx of children coming into the district from Mountain View Birch Tree School District has them at max capacity. I hope you are understanding the urgency of what I am saying. This should be prompting immediate attention. Let me close with this. If we hear of any retaliation against teachers who dare to speak out, we want you to know that the parents will be behind those teachers 100%. And we will support those teachers and help them get what they deserve because of your arrogance. Do not bully your staff, your students, and your parents. You will no longer get away with it because the parents are banding together. We will be watching, and we are not going away, and we will no longer stay silent. Thank you.
Yep.
So that was my speech, and going over a few of those points, we have heard a lot of things about retaliations for the teachers. Mm-hmm. Someone's saying something.
Grant, he says, I bet Birch Tree gets some teachers that have been sticking up for the pedophile, or the other half anyway. They will send down teachers to report back to the main clique at Mountain View.
Yes.
No doubt.
No doubt. We are standing up for teachers. We are advocating for teachers. That's what my speech was about. Mm-hmm. I am I'm very passionate about the way that these teachers are not allowed to speak out against the school district. They're not allowed to talk to anyone outside the school district. They have fear-mongered these teachers to death. They are making it to where they cannot come to us and let us know what is going on within this district. So, and
I can't even imagine being in a position where just going back to what Grant said, but I can't even imagine being in a position to where you actively see a pedophile in your school and you
say nothing.
You say nothing. Like, I can't even, as a Christian, as a mother, as an advocate for children, I can't even imagine that.
And now you're in a position that you have to defend them? What?
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, because...
If that's happening, right? I mean, we've heard reports. So, I mean, of course nobody thought to get pictures. And that's the issue where we're stuck. But, I mean, if that is happening,
Well, I think it's important to note that this came out a few years back when your daughter was in high school. Mm-hmm. This all came out. Mm-hmm. I think it was 2021. I think. Yeah, 21. It came out. And it wasn't dealt with then. And it was swept under the rug then. And a lot of people forgot. A lot of people, I know I heard about it, but I didn't have kids in there. My niece was in there at the time, and it was a big deal. But I forgot up until the time that my kids were in middle school, and it came back into the light. Mm-hmm. So I think people became complacent, and they forgot about what had happened and that he was even on the registered sex offender list.
Sure, she's giving people the benefit of the doubt.
Well,
which is good.
Why we didn't get pictures, right? That's why we didn't get pictures, is what I'm saying.
Yes.
Because there were people that knew about it and seen him, but didn't get pictures. And I think that's because it was just swept under the rug. That big old rug they keep sweeping everything under. Mm-hmm. Nothing was done about it the first time. And so they say, well, why try? Why try to fight it? Which isn't good, by the way. I mean, if you don't stand up, no one will, right? Mm-hmm. We're point in case, like, we're having to stand up because there's no one that will. People that have stood up have went to the superintendent, met a roadblock, and
that's where it ended.
Yeah, that's where it ended. Either it was dropped or they pulled their kids out.
Which is what's happening to another family that we've been in contact with. And they're just like, no, we're just done. We're just pulling 5 of their children?
6.
Out.
Yeah. I mean.
And so we get it. We get it. Because nobody wants to, because it's hard fighting things alone, right? And because, you get fed up with it. Miss Irma says, for years, our teachers and professionals have not been paid fairly, but administration is added with good salaries. That's a great point, and I know she wanted to mention that yesterday and didn't get to because of the time constraints.
The teachers' pay,
which will go into detail why there was a time constraint. But teachers do deserve to get to be paid fairly.
Yes.
And
again, we are advocating for the teachers.
That's right.
We are standing up for our teachers that can't advocate for themselves.
Right.
Because it would mean their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's say it. They've been threatened with that. So, would you feel like you could speak out about somebody or a district when you're threatened with your livelihood? They've got babies to feed. They've got bills to pay, just like the rest of us. Mm-hmm. They cannot speak out because they are scared that their livelihoods will be taken away. And that right there should be a wake-up call to everyone.
Chris says, my 3 were just picked up from the school for the last time. Homeschooling begins next year. So see that right there, that's proof that we're not lying, right?
There's a
parent that will be pulling their kids out this year.
Thank you, Chris, for saying that on here, because people need to know that that's really happening. There's several families that are homeschooling their kids or have moved to the Winona district. And we have heard that some have moved to the Summersville district.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the fact that Winona is at max capacity, they're saying that they are almost at max capacity because of the influx of children coming in from our district. I mean, there's not been a big boom where a whole ton of people came. So you know they are coming from our district.
And as Miss Irma had mentioned yesterday when we were talking, she said if that law gets passed, what is that law called? You would know, Miss Irma. If that law was passed, that would give parents the right to choose which school district they wanted to go to. They wouldn't be beholden to the boundary lines, right?
Yeah, to the borders.
So then how many kids are going to leave?
Yeah, once that law gets
passed and they're not held to tuition fees, how long will it be?
And this is important because when your kids leave, you're not building up your community. You're not building up your school community. You're building up somebody else's community.
Yeah, and then our teachers suffer, right? Because they're not getting paid what they need to be paid. And then our school suffers because, they're not receiving the money they need to help, better our school district. And so, I mean, there's a lot of factors in there. And,
And the fact that, I mean, if all these kids pull out, we're not going to have enough kids to sustain our elementaries. And we need the kids to sustain our elementaries, because if consolidation happens, our town dies. Our town will die because it is closer in Mountain View. People will not move here for their kids to ride 2 hours, 3 hours on a bus every day to go to school. They just won't. They want to move closer where their kids don't have to ride as long. I mean, it just makes more sense. You could take West Plains, for example. They have absorbed all the surrounding communities. And that's just how it is now. I mean, graduating classes sometimes hit over 400. My husband was one of those.
Yeah. And we went to my cousin's kid's graduation, and it was at 280?
Yeah, almost 300.
I think.
Just a graduating class.
But.
So you're looking at West Plains absorbing all of those communities, and you can look at the way that the communities are doing around them and see that they're not flourishing anymore. They are dying.
Like Thomasville, for example. Thomasville used to be the county seat for Oregon County. And the county seat moved to Alton, and then eventually, because the town was dying, then the school had to move to Alton. And then Thomasville, I mean, we can all look at Thomasville and say, that town has died, There's nothing there. It's not growing. There's no real businesses there.
And there's the other one in Van Buren as well.
Yeah, Fremont. So, I mean, that happened to Fremont. But anyways, we'll talk more in depth about the consolidation at a later time. But the point of it was, our schools are going to shrink if school choice comes through. That's what it's called. Miss Irma says school choice, it came close to being passed this year. When that happens, which Texas has already passed it, right? So it's already been passed in Texas. It sets the standard. Texas sets the standard. The money follows the kids, even if it's homeschooling. So that's wonderful. That would be wonderful news for homeschooling kids, right? But it's also good for parents that are fed up with the district, right? To be able to go to whatever school they so choose. Rick Thornton says, if the school district stays on its current track, the entire district will die. Yeah,
Yes.
that's probably true. Because they're
getting kids pulled out left and right.
Yeah.
I mean, they're jumping ship, dude. They're getting out of here.
And at that point, like at the point we're at, right? Because they know they're losing kids. They've been losing kids since my kids have been in middle school, which has been several years. And so, you know, I mean, they know. You think they would want to bridge the gap with parents and be like, what is going on? You think they would want to have this open session town hall meeting to figure this out.
We've been pushing for that, by the way. We have been pushing for open forum town hall meetings with our school board, with our whole administration, that we can ask questions, and feel free to ask questions, that there isn't an agenda at play, that we feel like we're closed off. So I think everyone needs to be advocating for that, because parents are coming to us with their concerns, but we need to be coming to this district with our concerns.
We can't be the only ones voicing concerns, because of then it looks like we're the only ones concerned about the issues, and when we're not. You know, and so, you know, we want to partner with you parents. We want to help you have a voice, but we need you to get on board with going to parent meetings and the things that Rochelle and Bobby are trying to put together to advocate for you and your children and the teachers. And, you know, because that's ultimately what we're doing. You know, is trying to...
Yeah, we're not tearing anyone down. We're trying to build the school back up.
Yes.
If anything, that...
We don't want to lose our schools and you know, I mean, have our communities, both Mountain View and Birch Tree.
And we don't want to lose our good teachers either. I mean, there's some really great teachers in our district that actually want better for our school and our students. So we don't want to lose them because of bullying, because of retaliation, because they don't feel like they can talk. I mean, there's a host of list of things that...
Yeah. So parents, if you want to jump on board with us, right, to help advocate for the schools and stuff, here are some of the things. This is the points that Miss Irma Kelly had drawn up, and so we just want to read that real quick, and then we're going to end this live. But this is what the parents and communities are requesting. Open meetings at least twice a year with the school board and administration, so these concerns can be addressed in a format that is conducive to asking questions and being allowed to have input into the children's education. So, so that's the open meeting Rochelle was talking about. Anytime there's a major change happening, okay, and a major change would be like the four-day week, right? It would be taking away our head principal at Birch Tree Elementary and Mountain View Elementary and giving us both assistant principals and having a head principal over them. That's a major concern that we did not get an input about.
The makeup hour thing.
The makeup hours, right? So anytime there's a major change happening, all stakeholders should be able to have an input.
Them no longer accepting doctor's notes.
Yep. And then the parents are also asking that a committee of parents be created by the parents to address the administration and board when concerns arise so that they can be addressed properly and the community can be informed.
So like a liaison.
Yes.
Is what we are suggesting for the parents, the ones that just don't feel like they can go up against this or just want to be support. Can come to this liaison and tell them, this is what's going on, this is what's happening, can you go and advocate for us? And they will.
So like in our parents group, right, it's going to be hard to go to every single board meeting. So it would be nice to have
some parents on
some
board.
parents
and
you
or
know, willing
community
to
members
kind of rotate
or
that out.
grandparents, because grandparents is also a thing. If you guys have looked, and we're going to speak about this, we're going to have to do another. Rena has to go somewhere, so
Yeah.
But grandparents, there was no longer a Grandparents' Day. They're taking away Grandparents' Day. They've taken away Parents' Day. You can no longer go eat lunch with your children. Soon, I believe that, you're not allowed to go to the middle school field trip. You're not allowed to go to the field trips in middle school right now. I called, I asked. We are still right now allowed to go to the elementaries, but I mean,
when you're blocked out of holiday.
But my child's
events.
teacher actually said something to her about that they weren't allowed, that parents or siblings weren't allowed to go on the field trip. And that was in BTE that she had said that. I went anyway because
Several other parents were already going.
Yes, several other parents were going.
Thank you, Maggie.
I just want y'all to know that if you don't stand up, your rights will be slowly taken away.
They already are.
They already are taking away little by little the things that we were involved in. And since COVID, we have not got the parties back. We have not got to go to the parties at the school. And something in Cody's speech that we will read later, because after Rena gets back, we will go live again. But something, we hadn't got the chance to even bridge any of that gap on going back to the parties or being involved in the schools. Somebody's saying something again.
Sure. Tiffany says parents need to take control back. Absolutely. We homeschool our 3 boys. If parents have questions or need support, please contact me. That's Tiffany Hayes.
Who pulled their kids out last year because of
Yes.
an issue that happened with the school.
Yeah.
So, again, we have parents homeschooling their kids because they can't trust this district.
Yeah.
So, we're going to wrap this up right now, and we will be back, and we'll make it public. We're going to make this public. We'll make our next one public before we go live. And we thank you for watching, and we hope that this will spark in you a spirit to fight and to come on board with us and to be advocates for your children, for our school, and for our communities, and for our teachers.
Be the change that you want to see.
Absolutely. And we will put in the link below, sometime we're going to get that GoFundMe for that consolidation paperwork. So when we get that up, we will put that in the link. So of both lives.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
Thank
you for listening.
Yep. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye. And you can message us, right? So you can message us with any concerns. You know, ultimately, we're not trying to shut you down from contacting us.
No, we want you.
We want you to contact us. We want you to continue to do that, but we also want your involvement. So.
Yeah, I mean, every little bit of information that we get from everyone helps because it builds a case.
Yes.
So thank you for that. We still want you to message us, even if you're not going to be involved in showing your face. We still want you to come to us because that's what we are. Yes. That's why we created this parents group.
Yes.
So.
All right. Well, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.